everyone, this is CricketSong with Lunar Wisdom, and this video is going to be discussing deprogramming from organized religion. And this topic is coming from someone, a viewer, subscriber named Lisa, who asked me on my Facebook page as well as in a Stick'em chat, the live chat that I did a few weeks ago, if I would discuss ways to deprogram from organized religion. Now, what you need to understand is I'm going to approach this topic and this subject from my own perspective. And if you haven't been watching my videos, then I suppose I should tell you where I'm coming from. I was brought up in a very Roman Catholic home. From there, I practiced Roman Catholic. I went to a Roman Catholic high school. I, at one time, believed I had a calling to be a nun. From there, I left the church years and years later. Into 1992, I left the church. No, 1993. 92 or 93, I left the Catholic Church. Was sort of a non-practicing Christian for years. Following then the birth of right before, I was pregnant with my son in 97, joined a Methodist church, and shortly thereafter started a Bible study with a Jehovah's Witness. And then I ended up leaving the Methodist church, the Roman Catholic Church, and became a Jehovah's Witness for a few years, and then left the Witnesses. So from my perspective of deprogramming from organized religion, we're going to be discussing Christianity in the broad sense, since Roman Catholics, Methodists, and Witnesses are all Christian. So this is the perspective I'm coming from. What I also want to address is the idea of threats and consequences. Now, if you look up the definition of threat in Merriam-Webster's online dictionary, you will find these definitions. Indication of something impending. Expression of intention to inflict damage. And in religious, I'm going to call that punishment. And consequences, if you look that up, is something produced by a cause or necessarily following from a set of conditions. And I want to bring the idea of threat and consequence up because I found when I was part of Christianity, there was always a concern that my life, my actions, my thoughts were possibly not pleasing to God in whatever name I associated with God. Because the biggest concern and the biggest issue I had when leaving the Christian church was fear. And this fear was based in the threats that were expressed to me numerous times that my actions, deeds, words were not pleasing to God. And there was always the threat that if I didn't please God, there was going to be punishment, whether that be hell or, actually I think that was the biggest concern, that if I did not, my actions, my words, my heart was not in alignment with God, then I was going to go to hell. That was the overarching concern. Except in the Witnesses, there was no concern of going to hell. There was the threat of not being resurrected to paradise on earth. But the thing was that I needed to make sure that I was pleasing God. So when I decided to leave, and when I went through, because when you leave, at least with the Witnesses, and that was the last Christian organized church I belonged to, was the Witnesses. That was the hardest thing for me to deal with, was leaving and the guilt associated with leaving. So it was the guilt. I needed to deal with this guilt. I needed to deal with the fear that, oh my God, I've made the wrong decision and I'm going to be punished. So once I left, these are things that helped me deprogram from that fear and that guilt. Number one, I suggest that you, if you are someone who has left the organizations of Christianity, to contemplate how you view God. Not what you were told, not what the Bible says, but how you view God. And you may find that you still view God in the way that you were taught, as a loving Father. And that's okay. That's okay. Just search your heart, your soul. How do you view God? And I suggest you journal. It helped me. Keep a diary, keep a journal. And, your first page, how I view God. And jot down how you view God. Whether you personalize God, whether you see him as a non-personalized deity. But write down your thoughts on how you view God. Take a few days to contemplate this. Get your thoughts in order and just mull it over. And from there, then journal or contemplate what you believe about everything spiritually. How do you believe you communicate with God? How do you believe you connect with God? How do you feel you worship God? Is worship necessary for God? What do you believe about life here? What do you believe about life after death? Do you believe there's a heaven? Do you believe there's a hell? How do you view these beliefs? Sort of like make your own, if you're familiar with Roman Catholic or even Methodist, sort of the Apostles' Creed. I believe in God, Father Almighty, creator of heaven and earth. I believe in the seen and the unseen. I believe in heaven and hell, whatever. I can't remember it word for word anymore. I used to know it, but jot down your own creed. I believe for me now, it would be, I believe in God and Goddess. I believe they are two separate forces of the one universal source. I believe in the spirit as well as the physical realms, as well as multiple dimensions. Write down what you believe. Write down your own creed. Take time to, again, contemplate this. When you have your view of deity or God and your spiritual beliefs written down, let that settle and then go back and look and ask yourself, are any of these beliefs based in fear? Do any of these beliefs carry the threat of punishment? Or are they based in love? Is my view of God a loving God? Or is my view of God a God of fear and punishment? Do I have spiritual beliefs that are based in fear? Or are all my spiritual beliefs based in love? See how that feels. When you find those beliefs that are based in fear, or with the fear or the threat of punishment, write those down separately on a piece of paper in your journal. And then start to ask yourself and jot down why you feel this way. Why? Why? And then see if you can make connections. If my view of God is a loving God, and if my view of deity is that he loves me unconditionally, then why do I believe in this specific belief, which is based in fear, if I believe God is loving? And see if you can connect the dots. When and if you find beliefs that don't coincide with your view of God, then ask yourself if this is something you want to hang on to, or if this was a reason why you left the organized religion that you left. Take a moment or take weeks or months and start reading other spiritual views or perspectives about spirituality and religion. Pick up a book on Hinduism. Read through it. It doesn't mean you have to believe what they believe, or that maybe it doesn't resonate with you. But get different perspectives on God and spirituality. Just learning about them, You may find things resonate with you, and you may not. You may find that none of it resonates with you. When you get all these things and when you're able, take a moment to look at what you did believe when you belonged to this organized religion, and jot down the things that felt wrong to you when you were part of the church that you were part of, or the organized religion that you were part of. And this step you may want to wait until you feel a little more comfortable and aren't having those panic attacks or those anxiety attacks that, oh my God, you just left the church, you just decided to leave Christianity, and now God's going to be upset with you. You may want to wait to do this next step until you are a little more comfortable in your skin, because at some point I'm suggesting that you face the things that you were uncomfortable with, and now it's okay to be uncomfortable with these things, where when you were in the church there was this unspoken view that if you belong to the church you should believe everything that the church is telling you. And if you're Roman Catholic, then I mean it's basically you need to listen to the Pope, because the Pope is the connection to God, and he is the word. He speaks the word of God, and what he says is God's law. And as a Roman Catholic, that I once was a Roman Catholic, going against anything the Pope says was very anxiety ridden, even though in my heart I didn't feel it was the right thing to do to follow what the Pope said. There's still that fear. So it may take you some time to be able to go back and say, well, the Catholic Church says that people who are gay should not be in a relationship because homosexuality is wrong. If that statement feels wrong to you, write that down. You know, I am no longer part of the Christian church, in whatever aspect you were in, and now in my journal I write, I don't agree with the church when they say homosexuality is wrong. I feel it is okay. You know, jot down the things that you were taught and you were told were right and true because you were part of the church and now you don't believe it. Write down those things too. Take a moment to consider why you finally left. Why did you leave this organized religion? And again, I'm going to say Christianity, because that's my perspective. Why did I leave Christianity? What was the points that told me that this is not right for me? And ultimately, the thing that ties this all together is finally understanding and believing that you are sacred. You are a manifestation of sacredness. You are a manifestation of deity. Even organized Christian religions say that God is within us. Understanding that this is true, that God is within you. I personally believe that I am a manifestation of God. I am a manifestation of deity. God is not only within me, but I am God, as well as the manifestation of God. When you finally understand that, and you accept that, and you believe that, all the fear will go away. It will diminish, because you will understand that you are love. And I'm not saying that this takes overnight. It takes time. Just as it took time for you to be programmed and for you to believe what you believed when you were part of that organized religion, it's going to take time to deprogram. It's going to take probably just as much time to let go as it did for you to believe. And if you were very much a part of that community, it may even take a longer time. Because not only do you have to understand that you are not displeasing God, what about all the people that you were connected with? Maybe you have a special connection to one of the priests or ministers, and now that you're leaving, you're afraid that you have you have disappointed them as well. Finding your own path, finding your own truth may not be easy. You may find it quite challenging, but it's also very freeing. And it allows you to connect with deity, with God, in a very personal way. No two people are the same. No two people's relationships with deity are the same either. And know that I love you, so you should love you too. Mwah.